All right, today we're diving deep into one of the most famous poems in the English language, Alfred Lord Tennyson's Ulysses. Now, on the surface, it seems like a pretty straightforward adventure story, but trust me, there's so much more going on just beneath the surface.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet you've heard this line before. It's everywhere. For almost 200 years, it's been this incredible motto for never giving up. But to really get what it means, you have to understand the guy who says it.
And that leads us to the central mystery of the whole poem. I mean, think about it. After 20 long years of war and wandering, the legendary Ulysses is finally home. He's got his kingdom, his wife, his son, everything he fought to get back to. So why on earth is he so desperate to leave it all behind again? Let's get inside the head of this restless king.
So, on the surface, the poem is about a guy who is just completely fed up. We catch up with Ulysses not as the celebrated war hero, but as an idle king. And let me tell you, he is not happy about it.
His life feels totally pointless. He's stuck at home with his aging wife, doling out laws to people he sees as uncivilized, a people who, in his words, just hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. You can just feel the gap between the epic hero he was and the boring ruler he's become.
And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures his greatest fear, becoming irrelevant. He literally compares himself to a sword that's meant for battle, but is just sitting there, gathering rust. For a man of action like Ulysses, a life without purpose isn't really a life at all. It's a slow death.
So he makes a decision. He has to leave. He wants to live life right down to the very last drop. He sees the world as this series of archways, and every time he passes through one, he sees another untraveled world gleaming in the distance. And for him, that call to adventure is just impossible to resist.
So, how does Tennyson let us in on all this inner turmoil? Well, it's all about the way the poem is built. He uses a very specific structure to walk us through Ulysses' state of mind, step by step.
The whole poem is what you call a dramatic monologue. Now that's a fancy term, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It means we're basically a fly on the wall, eavesdropping as Ulysses speaks his thoughts out loud. This gives us a front row seat to his character and his motivations at this make-or-break moment.
And his speech unfolds in 4 really clear stages. First, he just vents about how much he hates his current life. Then, he starts reminiscing about the good old days, the travel, the battles, the glory. Next, he gets practical and passes the torch to his son, Telemachus, who he admits is actually way better suited for the day-to-day job of being king. And all of that builds to the grand finale, his passionate call to his old shipmates for one last ride. It's a journey from despair to determination.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. To truly get Tennyson's Ulysses, you need to know that he isn't just one character, he's actually a mashup, a fusion of 2 different literary legends.
On one hand, you have the original model, Homer's Odysseus. In the Odyssey, it's actually prophesied that he'll go on one last mysterious sea voyage after returning home. But Tennyson also borrows heavily from a much darker version of the hero from Dante's Inferno. In that story, Ulysses never even makes it home. His relentless pursuit of knowledge leads him and his entire crew straight to their deaths.
And this is the key line that defines Dante's version. It's his big speech to his crew, convincing them to sail beyond the known world. He argues that the purpose of being human isn't just to eat and sleep, but to constantly chase after knowledge.
And that idea is the engine driving Tennyson's hero. See, when Ulysses talks about his desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star, he's channeling that same almost tragic Dantean obsession with experience and understanding. This isn't just wanderlust, it's a deep philosophical quest.
But there's one more layer here. And this one, well, it's the most personal and heartbreaking of all. And to find it, we have to look at the life of the poet, Alfred Lord Tennyson himself.
So get this. In September of 1833, Tennyson's absolute best friend in the world, Arthur Hallam, died suddenly from a stroke. He was only 22 years old. The loss completely shattered Tennyson. And just a few weeks later, in the depths of his grief, he started writing Ulysses.
And Tennyson himself was very open about this. He said the poem came directly from his own feeling about the need of going forward and braving the struggle of life after Hallam died. It was his way of telling himself he had to keep going. So when you hear Ulysses acknowledge that he knows death closes all, but he's still determined to push onward, that's not just a hero talking. That's Tennyson speaking through his character, trying to convince himself to endure, even when life feels empty and hopeless. And it's this incredible combination of adventure, intellectual curiosity, and sheer raw willpower that transformed Ulysses from a personal poem about grief into an anthem for an entire generation.
The poem just captured the spirit of Victorian Britain perfectly. I mean, look at the parallels. The era's obsession with science and knowledge, that's Ulysses wanting to follow knowledge like a sinking star. The drive for global exploration and empire, that's his call to seek a newer world. The relentless industrial progress, that's his fear of rusting away. And that unshakable Victorian ambition, well, that's the whole final line.
So this ancient Greek hero got a complete makeover and became a modern Victorian icon. He was the ultimate symbol of pushing boundaries, of refusing to settle for a comfortable, boring life. He was, in a way, the spirit of the age made flesh.
So in the end, the real power of Ulysses comes from all these different layers working together. It's the story of a restless hero, yes, but it's also a brilliantly structured monologue, a clever blend of ancient myths, a raw expression of personal heartbreak, and the inspiring theme song for a generation.
Which brings us right back to where we started, with that famous last line. See how much heavier it feels now? It's not just a simple call to adventure. It's a declaration of intellectual curiosity, a defiant cry against grief, and a monument to the human will to just keep moving forward, no matter what.
And that's the final, lasting power of this poem. It holds a mirror up to all of us. It challenges us to look at our own settled lives, our own horizons. And it asks a very simple but very profound question.